Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Nakia Clements. Welcome to my home in Hell's Kitchen.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, my name is Nakia Clements. I am an advertising executive specializing in media strategy, and we're here in my living room in Hell's Kitchen, New York City. How I came about finding this apartment is I lived in Harlem for many years, over a decade, and the building came down with bed bugs. So I had to move very quickly. And what I did to find this apartment is I Googled washer and dryer buildings. This was one of the buildings that came up, and I toured about 5 buildings in 1 week, and I chose this building. And I started out actually in a 1-bedroom that was courtyard facing, a few levels down. But then after the pandemic, I needed more space. The courtyard didn't have enough light. I'm a plant mom. I needed light for my plants. My plants weren't thriving. So I toured apartments outside of this building, but then the management showed me this unit, and with the views and the light and the space, it was perfect and very convenient because I just had to move a few floors up. So here I am about 4 years later, still in the same unit. So this is my living room. The centerpiece really of the living room are the floor to ceiling windows in view of Hudson Yards. So what I wanted to do for this room is I didn't want anything competing with the light. I wanted things to absorb and enhance the light. So I was very ruthless about color and the color palette and the furniture that I brought in. I'm a pug mom, proud pug mom. They shed a lot. So the sofa, which is typically your largest part of the room, I knew it had to be leather, but I found at CP2 this beautiful leather couch, and it's great because my dog kind of like lives on the sofa. For the first month I had him, he did not leave the sofa. So it's actually his sofa, and he's very comfortable here. He sleeps here all the time. And so when his little nails like scratch, it's okay because it's just part of the what we call the patina of the leather, I guess. So, and it's beautiful. And I love that it's very neutral and it goes very well with all the pinks. And I just have a little bit of chartreuse with pink accents up here. And I like these pillows here because it's a bit of a barrier to the artwork, which I have a very huge gallery over it. I would say the piece de resistance of my gallery wall here is my Faith Ringgold print. This is a print from her quilted artist series, and it's called The Sunflowers Quilting Bee at Arles. And Van Gogh is here, and it's all these famous Black women, Fannie Lou Hamer, Rosa Parks, surrounded by Van Gogh's sunflowers, and it's really beautiful. And this was a print that was created in the 90s, signed. It was also an artist proof, and I got it in auction for a steal, and spent a lot of money framing it and to protect it. When you get work, you should really get it framed right away to protect the art. And I just love this piece. It's huge, and for me, it's an honor to have something from Faith Ringgold, since I do not have the space or budget for one of the original quilts. So, and I think prints are a great thing. You know, I've been collecting since I was in my 20s, and I started with posters or, prints that I really liked. But, prints, never underestimate prints, because especially if you can get a limited edition, a limited run of a print, they can actually be very valuable, especially for artists that are like Faith Ringgold, who are now larger. And everything is really about my quilting bee print that I'm very proud of. Another female artist that I love, her name is Ina Archer. And I actually discovered her at an art festival, the Frieze Art Festival. And this is called A Liberated Cakewalking Gal by Ina Archer. She's a lovely artist who grew up in Paris, and she does a lot of work around Black memorabilia and entertainment. And so there's a lot of history to her characters. And I saw her booth at the Frieze Art Fair, and I just fell in love with her because I love, it's a watercolor. And if you notice, it's texture. It's little X's creates, you know, the cakewalking gal, and it's just so beautiful. And I bought this for myself for my birthday, and I love it. Also, when you're collecting art, I try to stick to a theme. For me, my thing is I always try to support Black and Latino American artists, because those artists in particular are very undervalued, and there's a lot of, you know, artists that weren't Basquiat. And so maybe there's pieces out there that you can get that are really beautiful and cool that you can't find anywhere else because they were from a particular time. So a great example of that is this piece I have by Rosado, who was a Puerto Rican artist. And I actually bought this print. This is a signed artist proof print as well that I found at an antique store in Brooklyn. I bought it for $20. It didn't really match my apartment when I lived in Harlem, so it sat in a closet, wrapped up in a closet for years. And then finally, when I moved to this place, with the light and the style of it, I felt like it really fit in this apartment. This is a piece by Frank Frazier, another artist I was very honored to meet at the Harlem Fine Arts Festival. This is part of his shoe polish series. It's called, it has a long name. Basically, it's called I Just Wanted to Sit Down. That's what he said. He kind of named it when I met him and bought the piece from him. But what I love about this is it's a drawing using the shoe polish from minstrel shows, when performers did minstrel shows and did blackface. So he created the sketch through that. And then he has real pieces of flags in here. And this is basically a Woolworth counter with people protesting segregation. This next piece is by Charles A. Young. This is a woodblock print. It's called Interloper and Black Madonna with Child. I just think it's very beautiful. I bought it because at auction, I just love it. This is one of my, I bought this a long time ago at one of my first pieces I bought from the Harlem Fine Arts Fair. It's by Willie Earl Robinson. He is Morgan Freeman's favorite artist. And he lives in the South, and he does basically portraits and landscapes of the Old South. And these are, as you can see, people picking cotton, and he makes his own frames. He made this frame from reclaimed wood himself. And, you know, I have some friends who, it's a little controversial because they're like, you know, it's people picking cotton, but for me, you know, as a Black American person, this is part of our heritage. You know, this is where we come from because it's created by a Black artist who is of that culture. That makes it more special for me. And then also I know that Morgan Freeman loves it as well. One thing I wanted to do with this room is make sure I have lots of textures. Because I was consistent with the color, I wanted to make sure I had multiple textures in pillows. So I have velvet, I have this kind of like burlappy canvas texture, I have furry texture, and I took the same approach with my gallery wall. Really wanted to have a quilted piece, and this piece is by Wendy Kendrick. She's based out of Ohio, and she does exclusively quilted art. And I just think, you know, this is very, very beautiful. And if you look closely, it's just the handwork that she did with it is just incredible. And I also discovered her through the Harlem Fine Arts Fair. So lots of artists from there. So this piece is actually one of my favorites. I got this at auction. This is by an Afro-Caribbean artist named Alfredus Williams. It's called A Beauty from the Anamawa Province. And I just love her nose ring. I love the colors, the landscape, and it's just very quirky, and it's an oil painting. And I just think it's really beautiful. It came with this frame. I love the frame. And it's just something, you know, I thought Alfredus was a very intriguing artist because all of his pieces were basically landscapes of where he was from. He was from Dominica. And it's one of my favorite pieces, and I just love it a lot. And then here we have all my coffee table books. I have a lot of coffee table books, but they're not just coffee table books. Something I like to do because I'm such an art buff, when I see a show that I really love, that really touches me, I like to buy the catalog and keep it. It's very collectible. So, you know, one key show that I wanted to make sure I had, the new museum has wonderful shows, Grief and Grievance, and the curator, I'm going to mess up the name. This is the name, passed away before it opened. And it was probably one of the best shows I've ever seen at a museum, a contemporary show that I've seen at a museum. So I love that I have this book and I go back and look at it and when I'm looking for inspiration. And then Kerry James Marshall, who's one of my favorite artists, he had basically a seminal solo show called Mastery, and I have the book from that show. So, you know, if you want to collect and you don't just want to have the typical Tom Ford book on your coffee table, a good thing to do is, not that there's anything wrong with it, I love the Tom Ford books, they're great, but I do think for me, it's like you see them everywhere, but if you want to have a more personal connection to your books, that's one way to do that, is just collect from artists. I will point out, because I went to Spelman College, Kalita Rawls is my classmate. We were suite mates. She had a wonderful show in Miami at the PAM Museum in Miami, Away with the Tides, and I have the book from that. Super proud of her and wanted to make sure I highlighted that book. So very special to have that book. The biggest challenge for me decorating this space is that I have all this light in these beautiful floor to ceiling windows. However, the kitchen area and half of the room is this dark wood. And I love it. It's beautiful. It's beautifully designed and it's lovely, but I didn't want that to dictate how I furnished and decorated around it. So I became ruthless with color and texture. I wanted to make sure that on this side of the room, which is the living room, so that you have a bigger demarcation of living space, I stuck to, you know, basically acrylic clear, acrylic furniture, and white, and then splashes of blush pink, which sounds a little crazy, but I felt like those were colors that were going to maximize the light. The majority of this room is, I furnished between CB2 and West Elm, but I didn't want it to look like a catalog. So, you know, I kind of mixed it up, and I have the glass table because, you know, I knew I was going to place it by the window. I wanted to have a richness of texture throughout the room so that it doesn't get monotonous with all the colors and it doesn't feel overly pink. Over here, this is kind of the dining area. You know, I like having the glass table because the light still comes through. It doesn't block the light. Also, that's important because this is a little plant area. I'm a plant mom, and so a lot of my plants here are thriving. I have a lot of succulents. Succulents are a little tricky. They need a lot of light. Not as much water, more light. And I love this little sitting area here. I actually sit here quite often. Sometimes I work sitting here. And then I have the stool here in case I want to put my feet up, but it's really just to hide the router and the cords. And then I want to talk about this poster. I love this poster. So it's a Japanese poster for a blaxploitation film called Cotton Comes to Harlem. It was not a typical blaxploitation film though. It was more of an artistic, sophisticated blaxploitation film because it was directed by Ossie Davis. And this poster, I love it because I wanted to have something, a Harlem reference in this apartment because Harlem is in my heart and I just love Harlem so much. And one trick if you're looking for efficient or, you know, low cost art, check out auctions. I actually got this at auction from Sotheby's. Sometimes, especially if it's like an estate sale of someone that is not famous, you can find little treasures. And so this is kind of one of those finds. There was a British man who had a whole collection of movie posters, vintage movie posters, but his specialty was actually James Bond movie posters. So all of those posters were like $10,000, $50,000, but in the lot was Cotton Comes to Harlem, the Japanese Cotton Comes to Harlem poster. The shipping was almost as much of that, but it was worth it. And it's so beautiful. I love how vibrant it is. And it's just a lot going on. It's like all kinds of women. It's like sexy women, classy women, guns, tough guys, cops, beautiful cars, a Rolls Royce, and then Harlem. And so that's a good trick. Definitely check out auctions. There's lots of deals there. And then this is another Harlem Fine Arts Festival artist that I found. The artist name is and I hope I'm saying it right, Frank Decoux. He actually had a big show over this last summer at Governor's Island in the Arts Center there. But I found this piece and I just love the colors, and it's a swimmer, and I loved just the detail of the figure that he has there with all the different colors, and his pieces are very vibrant and modern and cool and just super interesting. So I was really thoughtful about the lamps. So what I started with though, because I wanted to, again, keep up with the texture and color, I prioritized the lamp shades, and then I bought them separately. I think this one is from probably Anthropologie, but the bases, I just searched like Wayfair, or this might even be from Pier 1, to find bases that matched, that I thought went well with the lampshade. So they're not in this room. Some of the lamps throughout the apartment are pieced together because I prioritized the style of the lampshade. So another thing though is that I didn't want it to be too pretentious. I wanted to feel cozy and a little whimsical. Because I do have a tchotchke collection tendencies. So I like to have little animals, references to animals. So here on my TV stand, which, I have lots of things stored in here, but, I have like a little blowfish planter, my duck lamp, and then I have my miniature sheep. There's a French artist whose name I can't recall, who did this famous limited edition sculpture of sheep, life-size sheep. I have a friend who has a reproduction of that, and I just love it, and I don't have the space for the big sheep, so I bought a little sheep, and I think he's so cute. And then here is a little seagull sculpture that I got in Norway. And, Norway, it's very chic, right? So I basically got this at a dollar store, kind of like a very inexpensive store there. And it was like their version of IKEA or something. And it's wood, and I love it because it's so simple, but it literally reminds me of being at the beach and you seeing the seagulls, bending down, eating little shellfish or something. And I think it's so cool, and I love it. And, of course, plants everywhere. I don't have too many things because clutter drives me crazy. I do not like clutter. Everything has a place, but I do like things to feel cozy. And, that helps to filling the space a little bit, and styling things helps the room feel warmer, especially because, I've been so strict about the color. So that's another trick to kind of cozy up a space if you feel like it's getting too modern or too bare. How did I get to New York? I actually was born and raised in Boston, Massachusetts, in the city, in Boston, not from the suburbs. I'm from Dorchester. Dorchester, that's where I'm from. And I went to college in the South. I attended Spelman College. Then I was recruited to work in advertising in my first job in Chicago. And I lived in Chicago for a few years, but my heart was always on the East Coast. There's not a huge advertising industry in Boston. Also, Boston is very small. It's kind of like, it's a city, but it's a small town, and my whole family is there and I know everyone. So I wanted a bigger adventure. And so I got a job in New York City, and this was a while ago, they actually moved me here, and here I am a couple decades later, loving it and never leaving. Welcome to my bedroom. And the inspiration for this room is actually this vase on my dresser. When I was in college, I worked at Pier 1 Imports when they had brick and mortar stores. And I found this vase when I was working there, and I gave it to my grandmother for Christmas because this was the pattern of her bedding and the wallpaper in her bedroom. And it was one of her favorite gifts. I was so proud that I found it. And when she passed away in 2018, I inherited this vase back. So it's very special. So I decided to basically design this whole room inspired from this vase. One of the themes from it is blue and white. My grandmother was obsessed with cobalt blue and white things, blue and white pottery. So there's a lot of chinoiserie pottery that I have to match the pieces. And then my favorite part of this room actually is this peel and stick wallpaper that I put up on this wall behind my bed. And I just think it really pulls the room together. Bedrooms especially, I actually prefer to keep white because I like it to be, for me, it's peaceful and then there's a lot of light. And I'm the kind of person, I'm a crazy person. I actually don't sleep with my blinds down. I like to wake up to the natural light. So, but I felt like this room was a little bit too, because of the shape of it, it was too much. So, and I wanted to make sure, you know, with the views downtown, I wanted to make sure I also had something that would complement that. So, and I'll keep up with the blue and white theme of my grandmother. So this wallpaper is beautiful. It is peel and stick, but I didn't do it myself because peel and stick does not mean easy. Okay. So yeah. And then, I love white furniture, especially in the bedroom. I get this piece. This is actually from Room and Board. I love Room and Board. They're very high quality pieces. In this dresser, it fits a lot of things. So I have a lot of clothes. But actually, when I moved apartments, I moved from downstairs to upstairs, I actually hired movers. And I took everything out and the movers looked through my drawers because they thought it was still filled because it's so heavy. So it's really great. And I recommend Room and Board. And actually, my nightstand is matching as well, but we'll get to that. One thing I want to highlight here too is I have a TV, but I like to have a white TV because it is my bedroom. I go to sleep watching TV, guys. I know it's not popular, but I do that. But I like to have the TV be white so that it feels like it's kind of matches the wall and it's just more peaceful. It's not imposing. And then I have all these trays. Most of these are from Jonathan Adler. Some are little trays that I got from little places that I've been, but most are Jonathan Adler, like this lip tray that I love with a gold tooth. And he has all these very whimsical trays, and I put all my earrings, mostly earrings. I have some bracelets over there, but I have my earrings here because what I love about doing this is that when I'm getting ready, I can see everything, and then I end up wearing more of my jewelry instead of just wearing the same ones every day. So, and then I just think it looks really pretty. And it's just fun to see. Over here in this corner, this is a great chair. I got it on sale at Cost Plus World Market. And on sale, it was like $300. My cousin, he bought the same chair because he was impressed by mine. And I have a Jonathan Adler pillow. I love Jonathan Adler. He has fun, like kind of curt little saying on his pillows. So this says nothing tastes as good as skinny feels. And I agree with that, even though I don't do the work to stay skinny because I like eating. But love the sentiment of the pillow. And I actually do sit here. Sometimes I work from here. Sometimes I take calls, I'm on the phone from sitting here because I can just kind of, it's comfortable and I can look out the window. And then I have a little table here with, this used to be my side table for my bed, but I had two, but then one of them broke. So I decided to just make this a little side table with stuff in it. And my turtle plant. Something really important here, my mother's side of the family have indigenous heritage, and my grandfather, he was indigenous, and he gifted me this print of a native warrior on a horse, and he's praying, and it's just really beautiful. This is the original frame. I had to do a little bit of work to restore the frame. It had a little bit of wear and tear, but he gave me this when I was in high school, and I just love it. And it reminds me of him. And, you know, I just love waking up and seeing it every day. And it's one of those pieces that my grandfather had in his house for a really long time. He had lots of art in his house, and there were certain pieces that everyone wanted. And this is one of the pieces that everyone wanted. And I got it because I was the favorite grandchild. So yeah, but it's very beautiful. I love it. And then these lamps, again, like when I choose lamps, I actually go for the lampshade first. And I love this because it's a neutral color. I love the little pom-poms, but it took me a while to find the right base. And there's a matching one on the other side. The shade was bigger than I thought it was going to be. It was from Anthropologie. And then the base, I think, is also from Pier 1, but I actually went through a couple bases that I tried out with before I landed on this one. And it just makes me happy. It's like really fun and pretty. And I have lots of plants. I also have a little art. I have a Navajo sand painting that I just keep there in the window. My little succulent garden and my snake plant, which is about to bust out of this pot. But, you know, I love keeping up with the chinoiserie theme with the pot. And one thing you notice too is I like to have a pretty pot for all my plants. So any plant, when she come in this house, you're gonna get a pretty pot. So, and then here, I really love my pineapple table. I think it's pretty whimsical. It's had other uses before, but you know, I kind of like having it in my bedroom. And then I have these two fun little vases that I also got from Anthropologie, and they're plaid. I have a little bit of a plaid fetish, but I don't want to decorate everything around plaid. So these are really fun for me. I decided to buy this R.C. Gorman print. So R.C. Gorman is actually one of the most famous Native American artists. He passed away in 2005, and you can only buy his prints in either New Mexico, where he was from, or in Arizona. He was part of the Navajo Nation. And so when I was in Arizona for a trip, I bought this print, and I have another print that's more traditional of his style in the other side of the room. But you know, his style is actually more pastel. He was my grandmother's favorite artist, and she actually bought an original R.C. Gorman when I was a little girl, and I always, you know, looked at that painting, and it felt it was an accomplishment for her to have an original R.C. Gorman. So it was very special, and our family was very excited about it. And then other family members bought their own prints. No, you know, no one got the original, but everyone got prints. So I love this piece because it's kind of actually a departure of his normal style. It's very vibrant. I had never seen a piece like this that he'd done. And I love that she's kind of sleeping. And so it felt perfect for my bedroom. And it's something that I wake up and I look at, and it just makes me happy. And I think about her. And then here is my nightstand, which matches the dresser. And I also have some cute little vases. I love my cute little chinoiserie vases that I have throughout. I just like to have that. My bed is nothing special. I just have a white bed. It's from IKEA. It was probably 200 bucks. But what I spend money on is the mattress, not the frame. So the mattress is very comfy. The bedding, I spend money on the bedding is comfy. That's nice. So here's the other matching lamp. And then this is important because I actually just got this last year because I have so many clothes, and I was like, I need a separate dresser for my my intimates and, you know, my pajamas and stuff. So, but I didn't want to get another white piece of furniture. So with the theme, I wanted to keep with the theme. So I found at West Elm this navy dresser, and I also had to measure a million times because it had to fit. I didn't want it to overwhelm the space. Actually, when I buy any piece of furniture I measure a lot, and I sit with the space because I don't like furniture to be too big, and then I don't like, you know, you want it to fit perfectly. You don't want it too small, and you don't want it to overwhelm the space. It's because I knew this was going by my bed, so I wanted it to be on the smaller side. So I actually think it's really chic, really pretty, love it. And then more little vases. But then this painting here, this is, I am a pug mom. This is my pug, Dominic, who passed away last year. He was 13 and a half, and I was devastated. And one of my friends who used to be my boss, Dorothy, she's an artist and she does paintings. And she sent me this as a gift, and I really love it. And it looks just like him. And when I'm sad and I'm missing him, I just look at this painting and it makes me really happy, and I love it. Dominic, love him so much. So, and then here I have, these two pieces are really cool. So I'm sure you probably have heard of Sheila Bridges. If you follow design, Sheila Bridges created this pattern. This is a toile. I also love toile. I love chinoiserie and I love toile. And this is called Harlem Toile. She actually has a collection at Williams-Sonoma. She has a Wedgwood China collection, which I have. And before those collections, a few years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, kind of during the pandemic, she partnered with an online furniture maker, which actually does not exist anymore. I think it was called hey.com or something. And you could get Harlem Toile in different pieces. And so I got this bench made with this more neutral Harlem Toile. And then I also got this stool made because I wanted pieces that I wanted the color neutral, and I wanted pieces that I could use throughout any room just in case, because in case I change how I want to use it. And I just really love it. Now, these are cleaned off. Normally, these are covered with clothes, but today for you, I cleaned everything off. Just don't look in the closets. And I love Harlem Toile. You'll see I have quite a few pieces throughout my apartment with this in various forms, and I just think it's lovely. And it's even more lovely now because I don't think you can get these anymore, so that's cool. I'm really proud of this piece. This is one of my first pieces of art that I bought. I was in my early 20s, and I started out buying posters. And what makes this special is because the artist was a friend of my family, he signed it for me. So that makes it really special. And my aunt went with me to help me pick out the frame, and we did some custom matting, and it elevates it. Even though it's a poster, it elevates it when you could use matting and framing, custom framing, to really elevate your piece. One trick too I like is, when I started out, and I did this, when I started out, I would get everything framed at Michael's. But I would say if you can, I recommend supporting a local customized framer. And now I'm at the point where, I have a framer that I use. They're called Framing on 9th. Ask for Michael. He does a lot of people in this neighborhood. And I love custom framers and small business framers because a lot of times the owners have an expertise. They understand the materials you should be using. And they, Michael and I kind of collaborate on when we customize things and frame things. So, I always like to have that point of view, but my aunt went with me for this one. And, the big lesson I learned for art too, when you're framing, is you frame for the piece, not the room. So because of that, I do have pieces that worked in my old apartment that I have in storage that aren't here because, you frame for the piece because it's all about accentuating the art. But super proud of this. One of my first pieces of art that I ever bought myself. And she's beautiful. So over here by my closet, you cannot see, is my other R.C. Gorman. And this print, this is more along the lines of the kind of art, his style that he did, with more pastels, more landscapes of New Mexico and Arizona, and indigenous women, a lot more, like less contemporary like the other piece. So, I love this one because this reminds me of my grandmother's original that she had. It's just, I love coming into my room and seeing it, and it's beautiful. I love the colors, and it's quite peaceful and pretty. My design process is I actually start with the space and I design around the space. My apartment before this, it was in Harlem, it was older. It was actually a bit more masculine. I had a lot of light, but my colors and furniture was dark wood. For this unit, because it's so bright, and then also it's a rental, so there's actually a lot of cabinetry that is darker hued, a walnut color that's dominant in the room. So what I wanted to do was make sure I was taking advantage of as much light as possible because I love super bright spaces. And with the views, it's like I wanted to feel like I'm not that high up, but I think when you maximize the light with your furnishings and your decor, you almost feel like you're in the sky enough, right? You don't need to be in the 50th floor, which I don't want to be. So that's scary. So here is my little bar cart. I like having a bar cart because, when I'm entertaining and we're more casual, I like that my guests can just come and take care of things, make a drink, whatnot. I do have some of the Sheila Bridges Harlem Toile line from Williams-Sonoma that I really love. So I have the cocktail shaker. I have the shaker glass, which is beautiful. This is really beautiful. And then my favorite really is the ice bucket. I love the ice bucket. It's so pretty. And then I just have like lots of little things. I have some bitters, and I have this replica of The Ideal Bartender by Tom Bullock, who was a Black bartender, and he wrote this book. And then above the bar cart, I have a piece of work this is another one of my favorites that I got at auction. This is by Bill Walker. He was from Chicago and he was a muralist. He didn't do a lot of painting, so I love that I have this painting, and I just love, this is acrylic, and I love the texture of it. It's a woman, and he was from the south side of Chicago. He worked from the south side of Chicago and has many murals all over the Midwest and in Chicago. And it's another one that's kind of quirky and you wonder, you know, what is she thinking? What's happening? And I just love the color structure, the angles, and you know, it's very, very cool. And just kind of like, I like the thought of having a piece of one of his murals. He did a lot of things around revolutionary and Black revolutionary ideas and murals around Black liberation. So love having this piece, this piece of history as part of like my bar cart area. So my process for this apartment, for this unit, was really maximizing light and just making sure I'm not clashing and everything is harmonious and peaceful. I wanted peaceful and also more feminine because my last place was a lot more masculine and utilitarian and a little more quirky and eccentric. And so I wanted to go a little bit more modern with a touch of traditional and just as light and bright as possible. So this is my office. When I'm working from home, this is where I'm sitting, facing downtown Hudson Yards. And here I was a little more open to color. Still you see the accents of pink, brown leather, but then I added gray to this, and because I wanted it to be a little bit cozier, a little bit more formal in here. It's also my guest room. So I have a day bed. I didn't want to have a bed because I wanted this to be a multi-use room. And so I love this day bed. This is from CB2. I think it's called the Luby. And actually I have other friends who have bought this because they saw it here. And it's actually pretty comfortable. And sometimes if I have a day of back-to-back meetings, it's actually a really nice place to just kind of sit. And maybe I do a call from here, or I take a nap if I have a minute. But yeah, it's very nice. And then I have also Harlem 12 because I'm obsessed. I have some Harlem 12 pillows here. But these I got done in outdoor fabric in case for one day if I ever have I used to have a terrace, if I ever have a terrace again. A big important part of this room is my Kehinde Wiley here. So this is actually a silk scarf directly from Kehinde's studio. He sells them from his studio. And in case you're not aware, Kehinde is the artist who did the Barack Obama portrait for the National Portrait Gallery in DC. Very beautiful. He's very iconic. Of course, I do not have Kehinde money for an original. Would love that, but I don't. So the scarf, you know, when I first bought it, I was really excited about it. And I showed my friends and I was like, oh, look at it, it's great. And everyone was like, it's beautiful. And they were like, what are you going to do with it? And I was like, wear it. And they were like, no, you can't do that. So I was like, oh, I should frame it. That's a great idea because it's a big piece. And this is why independent framers are important, because I took it to Michael's, which is a more big box commercial framer. And they said, we don't know what we could do with it. We don't have the materials to really frame it for you. So I went to Framing on 9th, saw my guy, Michael, and he's kind of my art collaborator now. He knows so much and he recommended, this is actually acrylic. This is not glass because if it ever breaks, the glass would shred the silk. So this is actually acrylic. So it's nice and light. And then we picked out this beautiful frame that kind of complements and matches the design within the scarf. So it's really beautiful. It's a great backdrop when I'm at my desk and I have Zoom calls, and I have a couple of friends who have done the same thing with their Kehinde scarves. So really excited. I just really love it. And again, another thing that makes me happy, this wall, I have another smaller gallery wall. I have repeats of other artists. So this is an additional Charles Young painting that I have that I got at auction. And then actually a couple years ago, this is another Ina Archer watercolor painting that I got. Actually, I got it last year. She had this great show at the Microscope Gallery. And this was a part of that series, that show. Super proud of it. It's so cute. And she's so cute. And she's a doll. She's a doll. And I just think she's so pretty. And then this room, I wanted to go a little bit more modern and abstract. So this is a Marlon Ivory. I actually found these at the Harlem Fine Arts Festival. And Marlon Ivory, he's a young artist based in LA. This is all wood. And he creates this from like sculpting the wood and like burning the wood, and which is really cool. So I love the texture and it's so ornate, and I just look at it sometimes and I'm like, how did he do this? And it's just incredible. And I actually fell in love with this one. And then everyone was like, we can't just buy one of them. So I bought both of them because they're a set. And so love those. And then I have a few more abstract pieces. These two are at the top are Adger Cohen abstract artists. Adger Cohen was a photographer who worked under Gordon Parks. They worked together, and then Adger Cohen kind of went on and did a lot of commercial work. And then his side hustle was actually doing abstract art. So he recently had an auction earlier last year, and I secured these two pieces, and I just think they're really fun textures and colors. Also at auction, this is a South African artist. His name is Lafifi Tladi, and I'm not super aware of all South African artists, but I just love this piece because I love the pattern and the colors, and it's kind of moody and it's dark, but it's interesting, and you just see lots of things. And I also love pieces that kind of make you think. And this is a painting, I believe it's a watercolor by Curly Raven. Curly Raven is an African-American artist. I got this at auction, but he used to do a lot of art shows, and his art I think it's pretty ubiquitous. You see his influence everywhere, and he's just very, very, very American culture, and I just love this piece. I think it's just really vibrant and pretty. And then this painting is a little controversial. This is called Six Heads. It's by an artist named Greg Ridley, who is from the Midwest. And I love it because some people think it's kind of creepy, but I love it because I feel like it's simple and it's kind of abstract, but every face has such a distinct expression. Like every face is so expressive, and it's a different expression. And if you look at it, it's just way more complex than it looks. And that's what attracted me to it. And I bought it at auction, and it's signed by him, 1972. And Greg Ridley, I just think, I don't know, I love it. It's just really fun. And so this is another plant section. One theme I have in this room, because I always like to have an animal theme, is pigeons. I dislike pigeons in real life, but I just love having little pigeon things. So these are called Pigeons of New York. And there's a Harlem pigeon, which is a little watercolor painting. And then, because I used to live in Harlem, and then I have a Manhattan pigeon and a Hell's Kitchen pigeon, because I think all the pigeons have their own little personality. So I think that's fun here with the plants. And then also this is kind of like my lab where I grow my little babies. And then here you could probably, I don't know if you can see, I'll move the chair, but I have these cool little sculptures, pigeon sculptures. They're like bean bags shaped like pigeons. Can you see it? So these I found at the Cooper Hewitt Museum. I bought one, and then I found another one online because I wanted him to have a friend. But it's from like a European designer, I think from like Stockholm, Sweden or something. And I just thought it was very clever. I like things that are simple in design, but yet you kind of know what it is. And so I just think it's a fun pigeon. And sometimes people see them and they kind of see the shadow and think they're real, and they're like, oh, they get a little scared, which I think is funny. But yeah, this is my desk. And then here, when I lived in a 1-bedroom, this was actually my desk. And so now that I moved here, and I just had this chair against the desk, and I had the printer up here. So once I got moved into this apartment, I got the matching real desk, and then I kept this as kind of like shelving. And so here is where I keep a lot of like my little collectibles. I have this is another thing. So I went to college in Atlanta, Spelman College, and Outkast performed on campus like every week. And I just remember being like, Outkast again. Oh, they performed so much. And now I feel silly. But one of those times, they both signed this picture for me. So I should get it framed, but for now I have it right here because they're legends. Also here what I have some books, but I have some Black memorabilia. My grandfather, he was an antique dealer, and one of the things he loved collecting was Black memorabilia. So he gave me this thermometer probably when I was in like middle school. This was a gift from him. And then I actually bought this bank. This is from, I bought it because he used to have a few of these, and then I found one and bought one for myself. And then also in the spirit of that, he gave me this Valentine. It's a Black memorabilia Valentine. And you know, Black memorabilia is controversial because it was stereotypical, but the thought process my grandfather had is that it was still our image in society at a certain time, and it is a part of history, and he felt it was important that these things be in our possession, of our community possession. And so his what he liked doing was, you know, making sure that it was kind of a historical record of what was happening, because sometimes things, people want to erase things and erase history and culture and what happened, what was done to us. And it was very important for him to preserve those memories and keep it, you know, as a reminder, and then also as a part of our community and past. Because you shouldn't be ashamed. You should know where you came from and see how far you've come. But this is cute. This was a Valentine that he gave me from him in 1995, and I just love seeing that he wrote it to me, and I put it in this nice frame. And then here I have a lot of little games. I have my Nina Chanel Uno card game. Hopefully Mattel issued these a couple years ago. Hopefully you got one. It's very collectible. And then also what I have this antique book. One of the main characters that's part of Black memorabilia and that was in media was what they call Little Black Sambo. And it used to be a little character in books and cartoons and all kinds of things. And so I bought from another collector this little book, and I just keep it so that's because it's very fragile. I just keep it in this little case, and I like to, you know, it's part of the past. And it reminds me of my grandfather, and you know, I just think it's important to have those things back in our community. Here, this is my fern table, but most importantly, my baby Dom passed away last year. I actually have a little altar for him. I have his ashes. I have some sage. And then one of my best friends, I was in her wedding. She's Korean. And part of Korean tradition is you have a table of people that passed away and ancestors of your family that passed as a homage to them as part of the ceremony. And I get to the wedding. It was really thoughtful, and I cried, and I had to make sure I didn't mess up my makeup because I had to be a bridesmaid. But she gave me this frame, and so I just think it's very special. And then here is my little talus that I had as a gift as part of being part of her wedding too. And I just think it's very special because it came from her, who's one of my besties. And, you know, she loved him just as much as I did. So I like having a little, you know, it's for, a lot of people have altars like for your ancestors and all that. And you want to have too, like, you know, people, or not people, but your pets or homage to your ancestors and people that you loved in the past. So that's very special. And then this is just, again, keeping with my pigeon theme. I've been collecting pigeon pillows. My pigeon fascination actually started with this pillow. I bought this pillow at a boutique in Williamsburg, which I don't think exists anymore, unfortunately. And then this is actually probably one of the most famous pigeon paintings is by Picasso. And it's a Picasso pigeon painting pillow, which I had to have. I got that at the Picasso Museum in Barcelona. And then this is a new pigeon pillow that I bought by this artist named Kate Durkin. I found her in Queens at the night market, and I just think it was really cute. Another artist that I really love that I cannot afford, Carrie James Marshall. So this is a poster, and I'm not kidding. I bought it online from the National Gallery of Art for $17. It was on clearance about 10 years ago. And I tried looking for this poster again. They don't have it anymore, but at the National Gallery of Art, this is actually a huge piece that is reminiscent and inspired by a Renaissance painting that is also huge. So if you go to the National Gallery of Art, this painting is there, and you'll see how large it is. That's why they had the posters. But you know, this used to be in the living room. This is one of my faves, but now that I have the faith ring old, I had to make room for it. So now it's here, but I love this poster. I love that I got such a deal on it, and I love that you can't really find it. So it's rare and special. And then Kerry James Marshall also did this Vogue cover. And because I'm obsessed with him and can't afford him yet, I framed the Vogue magazine with Mike. Mike did this for me at Framing on 9th. And I just think it's great. And I just like the little spot here, and I just think it's really pretty. And then down here, actually, my bestie whose wedding I was in, she also makes pottery. And she had done some things with a lot of pink, and she had some excess pieces. Although I think maybe she had made this for me, but she gave me this, and I just think it's so pretty. It matches my decor. Her name is Mary. She's getting into pottery, and she's very talented. It's very light and beautiful, and I love it. And I have it here, and sometimes I have little flowers in it, but not today. I just love all the pieces that she gives me, and she can give me a lot more. Another important piece in my office is this, what they call a woodcut by Hale Woodruff. Hale Woodruff is from Illinois. He was a famous artist, iconic artist, and he did a lot of this kind of black and white style that you probably recognize. And he has pieces in museums all over the country. And he also taught art at a lot of HBCUs. Very, very special artist. So this I got at auction. And what I like about it is that it's part of his process, and it's kind of like an artist proof, but it's a woodcut, kind of what he based his, I think he did a lot of wood block painting, what he based it off of. So it's just like, it's operational. It's not really a piece, but, I like to think this is his handwriting, like his little notes on it, and he's working through, creating this lovely piece here, but it's also really beautiful and intricate, and look at the patterns, and it's a wooden house with clapboards and everything, and I just think it's really cool, and I love it. And I just like having a piece of Hale Woodruff. Again, he's another artist who very, very prestigious, very of the era of a certain caliber of artist, and I cannot afford an original now, but I love having this little piece of history of his process, which is cool. Who was my design and art inspiration? I'm going to say it is a mixture of my grandparents. My family, I grew up in a family business. My grandfather was an antique dealer. So I grew up doing antique shows with him and working in his store as a kid. And he had exquisite taste in furniture. He loved furniture. I grew up in a family where everything was old. Everything was an old something or vintage something. So I really developed an eye and a taste level and standard of the types of pieces of furniture that I would buy or I would have from a young age. In my early 20s, I did not have a futon sofa because my family would have been mortified. And then my grandmother, she was an artist. She was actually she was in corporate. She was a corporate executive, but she was an artist, and her taste was exquisite. She imparted in me probably my love of home and homeware and houseware design and dishes and all kinds of house things and plants. She gave all of us our love of plants. And she was an inspiration because I just remember being really young and going to her homes and just being impressed and overwhelmed and loving just her style and her things that she had. And so for example, I have a lot of books. I have a lot of coffee table books, but I actually have a storage unit full of books because one day I will have a library. My grandmother had a library, and I used to spend half a day in her library just reading her books and just sitting in the room and just, taking in just basically, when you look at people's books, I feel like that's kind of like what's in their mind too. So it's a good reflection of the person. So that influenced me a lot. And then just aesthetically, she had amazing taste. I think too, what I love about the pink blush color, it's also, I'm remembering this now, is that she, in her sofa in the 80s, when I used to visit her, she had a huge pink sofa in her living room. And it was very in 80s style at the time. She had a lot of wicker furniture and pink, but I always thought it was just so chic and pretty. And so that has been a huge influence on my style and taste. And then my family also used to produce art shows. So art is a huge part of our family tradition. You know, I had my first piece of art gifted to me from my family when I graduated college. And it's something that we're all interested in and love, and we're all collectors in some way of something, be it art pieces, vintage pieces, antiques, etc. We all have our little things that we collect, but it can be a sickness, so be careful if you don't have a lot of space. So, you know, I have my little things that I collect, but I have to keep it under control. My grandfather had probably, he had like 2 huge storage units of things that he collected. He loved mission furniture. He collected also Black memorabilia. He had a lot of things that he collected. I also have, I collect vintage bowls. I don't have the space to display them here. One day I will have a home with all of my vintage bowls, but some that I've got from him. And, you know, so that's a huge part of my style and my design sensibility. So this is my guest bathroom, and what I really wanted to highlight here was a piece of art that I got in auction. It's by Tom Feelings. It's a sketch of 2 pregnant women in a waiting room. And I felt like it was just perfect for a bathroom because of the colors, and, you know, there's so much emotion in the women's faces. It's like they're anticipating something. It's very cool. And Tom Feelings, he was a famous Black children's book illustrator. One of his most famous books is called The Middle Passage, and it's about the slave trade ships coming across from Africa to the United States. And it's a classic book that a lot of Black families have growing up and have in their household collections. And I feel really, really, really happy that I have, you know, just a sketch, a piece that's not a part of a book that I can hang as art from him. And, you know, I just love it. And when guests are here, they always love this piece and ask me about it. Home for me it's my sanctuary, but I also need it to be my inspiration. This is a great question because actually a couple of weeks ago, I was having dinner with friends and they said to me, "We don't think you've ever had a normal apartment." And I'm like, what does that mean? They're like, "We don't think you've ever lived in an apartment that was not, you know, meticulously decorated and lovely." You know, so because every space that I live in, I have to make it home, and it has to be, I need peace, but I also have to feel inspired, and I need to be able to basically reset, spark ideas, think. I have to love my environment. I'm very much a person that I have to have beautiful things around me. I have to see beautiful things. It makes me happy. And that's what I need when I go out pounding the pavement in New York City every day hustling. I need to come home, see beautiful, clean, lovely things, and feel good about my environment and my space. And I also host a lot. And nothing gives me more pleasure than hosting and having my friends and family feel comfortable in my home. And I love when my friends and family feel the inspiration that I feel by my home, the environment that I've created. So that's very, very satisfying. And that's how I need to live.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.